The Hittite Empire. To most, the name means nothing, a forgotten word from a forgotten time. It is a ghost in the footnotes of history. But for 200 years, this ghost was a superpower. This was not a minor kingdom. This was the equal of Egypt. This was the rival of Babylon. This was an empire that stretched from the Aegean coast to the gates of Mesopotamia, controlling the lifeblood of the ancient world, the trade routes for tin and copper. The ingredients of power. From their fortress capital, the city of Hattusa, a near-impregnable stronghold built on the rocky highlands of modern-day Turkey, the Hittite kings, the great kings, dictated terms to other rulers. They signed the world's first known peace treaty, the Treaty of Kadesh, with Pharaoh Ramesses II. We have the tablet. It is a testament to their power, their diplomacy, their permanence. They were masters of the chariot, a technological terror that dominated the Bronze Age battlefield. They were pioneers of iron, a secret they guarded jealousy. They built monumental cities, carved gods into the bedrock of their homeland, and administered a complex, multicultural empire with brutal efficiency. They were, by every definition, too big to fail. And then, silence. They vanished. This is not a story of gradual decline. This is not the slow, dignified decay of Rome. This is a story of deletion. Around 1200, before Common Era, the Hittite Empire does not just fall, it evaporates. The capital, Hattusa, is violently destroyed, burned to the ground, and abandoned forever. The cities of the coast are obliterated. The complex system of trade, diplomacy, and bureaucracy that held the empire together disintegrates, seemingly overnight, and the silence that follows is absolute. For 3,000 years, their true identity is erased. They survive only as a footnote, a minor tribe mentioned in the Old Testament. Their status as a global superpower, completely forgotten. This is the central mystery. This is the glitch in our historical timeline. How does a civilization of this magnitude, this power, and this complexity get deleted from the system? What force is powerful enough to not only burn an empire, but to erase its memory? And if it happened to them, why do we believe it cannot happen to us? The mainstream explanation for this catastrophe is simple. It is two words, the Sea Peoples. This is the official story, written by the victors, specifically by the Egyptians. On the walls of his mortuary temple at Medinet Habu, a massive memorial complex in Thebes, on the west bank of the Nile, Pharaoh Ramesses III carved a dramatic, self-aggrandizing relief. It shows a chaotic battle. Egypt stands firm, repelling a tide of invaders who came from the sea. These are the Sea Peoples. The inscription is a warning. It claims a vast conspiracy of peoples was on the move. The foreign countries, it reads, made a conspiracy in their islands. No land could stand before their arms. They laid their hands upon the lands as far as the circuit of the earth, their hearts confident and trusting. Our plans will succeed. According to this record, these Sea Peoples, this chaotic horde with their distinctive feathered helmets and horned helmets, swept down the eastern Mediterranean. They destroyed the Hittite capital. They burned the coastal cities of the Levant. They were a virus, a wildfire, for decades. This was the accepted narrative. A mysterious, violent force entered the system and broke it. But this narrative is a little too simple. It is a little too convenient. When we look closer, the story of the Sea Peoples does not answer the question. It is the question. Who were they? Where did they come from? And how could a disorganized band of raiders, as Egypt describes them, topple the most sophisticated military and economic empires of the day? all at the same time because the Hittites were not the only ones to fall. This was not an isolated event. This was a glitches He-thong system glitch, a cascade failure. In the same 50-year window, the entire world of the Late Bronze Age collapsed. The Mycenaean civilization in Greece, the world of the Trojan War, collapses. Their palaces are burned. The very concept of writing vanishes. Scribes who once recorded inventories of wine and oil are gone. The skill itself is lost. Greece enters a dark age that lasts 400 years. The mighty trading city of Ugarit, a vital port on the coast of modern-day Syria and a key vassal of the Hittites, is destroyed. We have the final, frantic letters sent from its king. One tablet, found still baking in the kiln when the city was destroyed, is a desperate plea for help. The help never came. Cyprus, the center of the copper trade, sees its cities ravaged. Even Egypt, the victor, is mortally wounded. It survives. Yes, but it is the beginning of its long, slow decline. It is never a true superpower again. This is the Late Bronze Age collapse. It is the first, and perhaps most dramatic, interconnected global collapse in human history. It is a simultaneous, systemic failure. The Sea People's theory does not explain this. A wave of pirates cannot simultaneously destroy every major power in a region spanning 2,000 kilometers. A band of raiders does not cause entire populations to forget how to read and write. No, the Sea Peoples were not the cause of the collapse. They were a symptom of it. The real glitch is far more terrifying. The real glitch suggests that the very system the Hittites had built, their complex trade, their centralized power, their military might, was itself the weapon that destroyed them. If the Sea Peoples were merely the final blow, not the cause, then what created the vulnerability? What turned this stable, too big to fail system into a house of cards? The investigation moves from history to forensics. We are no longer looking for a single culprit. We are looking for the co-conspirators in a perfect storm. Theory 1. The climate catalyst. For decades, this was a fringe theory. Today, it is central to the investigation. Scientists analyzing ancient pollen from the region and sediment cores from the Dead Sea have pieced together a devastating timeline. The data points to a sudden, severe, and prolonged climate event. A megadrought starting around 1250, before Common Era. The rains simply stopped. For decades, perhaps longer. This was not a normal dry spell. This was a fundamental shift in the climate pattern of the Eastern Mediterranean. For an empire like the Hittites, this was an existential threat. Their heartland, the Anatolian Plateau, was already marginal land. Their entire system of government, their command economy, was built on surplus grain. Grain fed the army, grain fed the chariot horses, grain fed the bureaucracy and the priests. Grain was the fuel of the empire. When the grain silos, once overflowing, became vast, echoing tombs. When the dust in the fields replaced the wheat, the system began to crack. We see the evidence in the clay tablets. Frantic letters from the Hittite queen to the Egyptian pharaoh, begging for food, to keep her people alive. The masters of the world, reduced to begging for food. This drought creates a domino effect. Famine leads to unrest. Starving populations do not care about great kings or complex treaties. They care about survival. The centralized power of Hattusa begins to look irrelevant. Theory 2. The internal system failure. The drought was the catalyst. But the Hittite system itself was the accelerant. The Hittite Empire was not a monolith. It was a fragile construction of vassal states, conquered peoples, and rival kingdoms, all held together by two things: Hittite military power and the personal loyalty of local kings to the great king in Hattusa. What happens when that military power is weakened by famine? What happens when the great king cannot provide food or security? The system inverts. The bonds of loyalty shatter. Local lords begin to look out for themselves. The empire is not conquered from the outside. It disintegrates from the inside. Furthermore, the Hittite economy was highly specialized, highly centralized, and completely dependent on interconnected trade. It was the first globalized economy, and it had all the vulnerabilities of our own. When the tin trade from Afghanistan is disrupted, you cannot make bronze. When the copper from Cyprus stops arriving, you cannot equip an army. When the grain from Egypt is denied, your people starve. The complex, sophisticated system that made the Hittites powerful was, in the end, catastrophically fragile. It lacked resilience. It had no plan B. It was a system built for a world that, thanks to the climate, no longer existed. Theory 3. The earthquake storm. As the system cracked under the strain of climate and internal decay, one final element may have pushed it over the edge: the Earth itself. The region is one of the most seismically active on the planet. Archaeological analysis of the burned cities from Hattusa to Ugarit to Mycenae shows a disturbing pattern: destroyed walls, toppled columns, evidence of massive, violent destruction that cannot be explained by fire alone. Some scientists have proposed the theory of an earthquake storm. Not a single quake, but a cascade of seismic events, where one major fault slip triggers the next and the next in a chain reaction across the region. While proving a direct linked seismic storm is incredibly difficult, the physical evidence of violent, simultaneous destruction at key sites cannot be ignored. Imagine this. Your civilization is already on its knees. Your people are starving. Your government is fragmenting. And then, the ground begins to shake, not once, but for years. The gods themselves, it seems, have abandoned you. This is the perfect storm. It is not one single cause, it is the convergence. The drought weakens the state. The internal fragmentation breaks the economy. The earthquakes shatter the cities. And into this vacuum, this perfect chaos, now come the sea peoples. They are not an invading army. They are the desperate. They are the starving. They are the climate refugees of the 12th century before Common Era. They are the Hittites from the countryside, the Mycenaeans whose palaces have fallen, the displaced and the dispossessed, all moving in a chaotic wave, taking what they need to survive. They are the final symptom of a world that has already died. This is the theory, a systemic collapse, triggered by climate, accelerated by internal fragility, and finished by mass migration. But what is the evidence? What can we hold in our hands? This is where the glitch files operates. We are not here to tell stories. We are here to examine the code. Exhibit A. The letters from Ugarit. In the ruins of the coastal city of Ugarit, archaeologists found the oven archive, a room full of clay tablets, being fired for preservation just as the city was destroyed. They are the last messages of a dying world. The king of Ugarit writes a desperate letter to the king of Elishaya, Cyprus. He states, "My father, behold, the enemy's ships came. They have set fire to my towns and have done evil things in my country." He writes another to his own general, who is away with the army. The enemy advances against us. The country is abandoned to itself. Our food in the threshing floors is burnt up. All my troops are gone. The city is abandoned. This is not a report from a functioning state. This is not a strategic assessment. This is a snapshot of pure panic. The system is offline. The king is alone, dictating a final message as the smoke fills the room. This evidence is primary. It is chilling, and it supports the rapid collapse model, not a slow decline. Exhibit B, the walls of Hattusa. The great capital, Hattusa, was not just abandoned, it was systematically, violently destroyed. Archaeologists have uncovered the postern gate, a massive vaulted tunnel running under the city walls. In the final days, this tunnel was blocked, not from the outside, to stop an invader, but from the inside. It was a last, desperate act of civil defense. But against whom? The burn patterns on the citadel show an intense, consuming fire that lasted for days. This was not a simple sacking. This was an obliteration. But here is the glitch: the surrounding countryside, the smaller towns and villages of the Hittite heartland show almost no signs of destruction. This tells us the enemy was not an invading foreign army marching across the land. The enemy, it seems, was the city itself. The violence was focused. This looks less like an invasion and more like a revolution, a starving, desperate populace, turning on the symbols of the failed state that had let them down. Exhibit C, the Egyptian victory. Stele, we return to Medinet Habu, to Ramesses III and his victory over the Sea Peoples. When you look closely at the reliefs, you see something strange. The invaders are not just warriors. They are depicted with women and children in ox carts. This is not an army. This is a migration. Ramesses did not fight an invading empire. He fought a wave of desperate refugees, and he was proud to have repelled them. But the victory was hollow. Egypt survived, but it was the end of its international power. It retreated into isolationism. The interconnected world of the Bronze Age was gone. The system had been reset to zero. The evidence does not point to a mystery monster. It points to a tragedy. It shows us a sophisticated, complex civilization that was rigid, brittle. It had optimized itself for a single set of conditions, and when those conditions changed, it had no capacity to adapt. It shattered. The story of the Hittites is not a story about the past. It is a mirror. They were a superpower, deleted from history. Their glitch was a belief in their own permanence, a belief that their complex systems, their trade, their military, their agriculture were infallible. They were wrong. Today, we live in the most complex, interconnected, globalized system humanity has ever built. We are completely dependent on systems of global trade, on digital networks, on a stable climate. We have optimized our world for efficiency, not resilience, just as they did. We, too, are seeing the climate shift. We are seeing resources strained. We are seeing political fragmentation. The Hittites are a 3,000-year-old warning. They teach us that collapse is not a slow process. It is a sudden phase transition. One moment, you are a superpower. The next, you are a ghost. The great open question that the Hittite glitch leaves for us is not what happened to them. It is what are we doing right now to ensure it does not happen to us, because history does not repeat, but it rhymes. And the rhyme of the Hittite Empire is a warning that we cannot afford to forget.